And we're live. Hello and welcome back. Hello, citizens, and welcome back. I ruined my intro immediately. Let's try it again. And we're live. Hello, citizens, and welcome back to the Comm Relay. Much better. Sorry, guys, I had a long weekend. First of all, Voodoo, weren't you a follower already? But thank you for the follow anyway. Yeah. And I completely lost my train of thought immediately. And I even had a coffee before this. Anyway, today I wanted to talk to you guys about our expectations for 4.0. So we did an episode on Pyro expectations, but since then we had a few changes to what 4.0 is going to look like in terms of features and so on. So I wanted to cover that today. And Voodoo, interesting. Don't worry about the derail. You just kind of had me confused there for a second. And generally, Twitch is being somewhat weird today. Like, I'm looking at the stream manager and the bitrate is all over the place, even though my internet is fine and everything is okay according to OBS. So maybe it's just one of those days. I tried to play a little bit of the PTU about an hour ago and could not get into the elevator. And once I got into the elevator, I could not get out of the elevator. So I suppose the not being able to get in was supposed to be my sign to not try to go in there once I could. And the cat came to say hello because I started talking, which implies there are other people here, which implies that someone's gonna pet her. But it is only going to be me. Would you like to sit, little cat? Thank you. Yes. And she will sit now. Yes. Anything to say to the audience? No? Okay. She just wants to sit and wants to get pats, which is understandable. So, since the last episode we did on 4.0, and then we were mostly focusing on Pyro, we had a few developments going. Number one, the Polaris came out, which we kind of anticipated coming out since CitizenCon, but we weren't 100% sure. I have actually seen some people posting the captain's quarters on the Polaris now, so I'm not sure if they added that. I definitely didn't see it in the patch notes over the last couple days. So I guess we will see if and when. But the other thing is that the full scope of 4.0 got cut pretty much to the bone. I think about a month ago, where CAG removed pretty much everything besides jump points, pyro, and server meshing from the patch. So I'm hoping I'm going to get some callers so I can ask their opinions on this. Because interestingly enough, I am going against the current on this. I think that was actually a smart move for CAG to cut the patch down to almost nothing. And while I'm talking, please, everyone let me know if the audio's all good, because I was messing with the settings. Because I was doing a different thing while recording on camera earlier this week. Hopefully you will like the thing that I did. Stay tuned for more updates on the YouTube channel. Thank you. So, with the original scope of 4.0, we were supposed to get jump point, server meshing, pyro, and then engineering and fire and... Thank you, Voodoo. So the captain's quarters on the Polaris are in the current patch on the PTU, I assume. But yeah, I also assume they are still working on it, which is good, because that was one of my main complaints with the Polaris, is that it kind of released incomplete without the captain's quarters. I understand that they wanted it out for the IAE, but they could have probably held off until 4.0. I don't think anybody would be angry about it. Yes? I don't know if you can hear the cat purr, but she's just like sitting in my lap and, purring. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I liked the Hammerhead Captain's Quarters. It also has some display cases there, a huge desk, and generally a lot of storage. So I'm hoping they will go for a similar setup on the Polaris. I haven't had a chance to check it out. I only went in today to take some missing footage for the other project I'm working on, but we will see. I'm looking forward to seeing it in 4.0 when it presumably comes out. I think a lot of people are going to be using the Polaris for kind of a patrol craft or incursion craft into Pyro and into Stanton from Pyro. So it should be very interesting now that we have a proper sub-capital class ship in the game. But, more importantly, they had a very big patch planned with, Pyro, server meshing, jump gates, fire. They also had engineering, which is a big change to ships, and they were supposed to put it all out at once, which in my opinion is a terrible idea, because server meshing in general is a huge piece of tech that's going to break everything for everybody immediately. Even though it is actually working very well on the PTU, I have to say that. The first Evocati releases were kind of sketchy, but now it's actually pretty good. I actually haven't had any major issues with the server mesh, and I've been traveling around Stanton and Pyro quite a lot over the last 2 weeks of the PTU. Okay, the cat is trying to get comfy. There, is that good? Is that good for you, little cat? Side note on the cat. Starting last week, I started putting a picture of my cat in one of the 3 thumbnails that go out with the weekly video. So I'm kind of curious to see what it does with the stats on the thumbnails. For last week, the thumbnail that has the cat in it is actually the best one. And it's not like a big picture of the cat, it's just kind of like in there is a little cutout of the cat. So see if you can spot it in the last week's video thumbnail. But yeah, so with that major piece of tech, with server meshing and jump gates, a lot of things are going to be broken. There are going to be a lot of bugs, and a lot of things are not going to work. Even though it's working pretty well in the PTU, but we all know that no patch survives the live release. And if you threw in firefighting and engineering, which majorly change how we operate our ships, into that, I think it would put too many points of failure into the game, and that could cause a lot of issues. Especially since I think a lot of people are going to come back with 4.0, but I also think there's gonna be a big marketing push from CIG about 4.0, and we're going to see a lot of new players coming in. And if you threw in engineering into that and fires and all that stuff, you would have a lot of confused new players. Now they have a chance to tune it in a way where it's going to be an interesting and rewarding gameplay rather than a nuisance, because that's what it's fixing to be with fires and engineering right now. And I think, in the true CIG fashion, we will make it real, and then we will dial it back to fun. So I think they're gonna make engineering very annoying. Like, you're gonna have to get up and fix components and adjust power and change fuses every 10 minutes. Exaggeration, obviously. And then they will dial it back to the settings they're hoping for in actuality. As you can see, the cat is having a good time. Yeah. And for those of you listening to this on Spotify or on YouTube or on Apple Podcasts later, yes, the cat shows up sometimes, so it's actually worth it to watch the stream. And for those of you watching, if you don't catch the whole episode, the whole episode gets published as a podcast on Spotify and on YouTube and on Apple Podcasts. And the cat has abandoned us. She will come back, though. Cutting down the patch makes sense given how long it took to get the mesh working to the point they could open the ePTU to non-Evocati. It's very correct, Voodoo. Though I think we all kind of expected that initial hurdle, technologically speaking, to get it to a working state to actually open it up. Because I like, how long was it in Evocati? It was in Evocati for a month and a half before they opened it up. So that's actually pretty good, I would say, for such a major change. Yeah, I would be mad if they were dropping fire and engineering on us in the next week as well as polishing. Oh yeah, that would be. I wouldn't be mad. It would just be a lot of stuff going on at once, and I don't think you want to do that right now. I think they want to, because 4.0 and server meshing is one of the things that we've been waiting for so long, and I think it's important for CAG to get that right so they don't have to go back to it, because there's going to be a lot of bugs coming out that they're going to have to fix before they move on with further features and dynamic server meshing and all that stuff. So they really just have to get this right, and it's better to minimize the points of failure if they want to do that quickly and efficiently. That's just good software development practices in my mind. And we have our first caller coming in. So Integer Overload is back. Okay, Integer, you are live and unmuted. Can we hear you?
I sure hope so.
We can hear you. Welcome back. How are you doing?
Thanks, I'm doing well.
Yeah, getting ready for the holidays?
Yeah, not as much as I should have already, but
Still late on your Christmas shopping?
Progress.
I finished mine today.
Oh, lucky.
Yeah.
Well, not lucky. Well planned.
No, more of a random burst of energy to get it done.
Ah.
Yeah, you know, it's 4 shots of espresso usually do it for me.
Hell yeah.
I mean, as long as you don't mind the shakes, it really works. Yeah, just don't ask me to hold a glass of water for you if you give me that much coffee.
Yeah.
So, Integer, I'm going to start with a generic question. So, what are your expectations for 4.0? Do you think it's going to be good? It's going to be bad, the release? It's going to be somewhere in the middle?
Honestly, from what I've seen from the little bits of the ePTU or PTU that I've been able to see, I'm a little unsure about some of these locations. I've seen an awful lot of doors not opening, an awful lot of falling through the floor, stuff that I really feel like we shouldn't be like problems I feel like we shouldn't be having.
Well, I mean, when have elevators not been a problem in this game?
Oh, elevators, yeah, that's expected.
Like the number one cause
like
of death.
Watching people walk into buildings and fall through the floors because there's no floor in a building for some reason. Those kinds of things obviously I don't know lick about game development, but I have to wonder, like, how does that happen? How does the building not have a floor? Who built the building but didn't put the floor in it? That's usually where you start, right?
In my experience, things like this usually happen like, oh yeah, we put that in development, but at some point on the development branch, someone merged something in, and that changed some properties of the floor, so now the floor is missing that property in that original building, so now whenever we try to spawn that floor, it throws an error and doesn't spawn a floor.
Okay.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
It's like, generally, blame someone else for this. Because usually it's backwards compatibility, that kind of thing. And oh yeah, Voodoo in the chat says, it would be worth delaying some of the features to work on ASOP, Transit, ATC. I agree. ATC and Transit and ASOP terminals, even though, ASOP terminals have gotten a little bit of polish in 3.24.3. Finally, when you click back, it doesn't scroll you back up to the top, which is a major quality of life update, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. It took me quite a while to get used to it.
Oh yeah, I still automatically scroll.
Just tab back, hit back and start scrolling.
Well, I mean, it's been how many years of this? So it's gonna take a while for everybody to forget how. Yeah.
I think as far as the big thing that I have most unsure about with the 4.0 is missions. I have not heard much about the new mission manager with server meshing, and it's supposed to be so much better because, or at least different because server meshing is going to have its own mission system matrix or whatever they call it. So that's a big unsure point. But
Yeah,
the locations look beautiful. I like the maps. The world that which Star Citizen has never struggled to make something that looks, to make a well-made, a good-looking location. That has never been a struggle of theirs.
Yeah, absolutely. The environments in Pyro. I mean, the stations look very run down, and for me, maybe it's just because I have never seen such a location in real life. It just feels to me that I don't think people would live there. Like piles of trash just in every corridor. I just kind of believe that even if you live as an outlaw, you want to have like a clean environment because for me, looking at it practically, that's just a public health hazard. It's like, oh yeah, we have a several ton pile of trash in the main hall, and nobody's doing anything about it. I don't know. That's a public health issue. I think. Like, do people not get sick in the Star Citizen universe? How does that work?
I mean, if you want to nitpick, you could say that that's that's only solid waste. That's not like degradable waste. So there's not going to be any random bug eggs hatching out of some grain from some planet somewhere, and the next thing you know, your space station has a fly infestation from
Siege Hearts in the chat says, the closest thing to Pyro is a Hive World in Warhammer 40k, and I'm surprised they never thought of that reference because it fits. But no, I love the locations in Pyro. I love the outposts. I feel like they have like that just the right amount of do it yourself in there, and it looks really good. And a lot of the locations have trading terminals, and they sell interesting stuff, and they are in interesting places, and they have multiple sizes for them, like they described on ISC at some point. So yeah, environmentally speaking, great. And to kind of go back on what you said about the mission manager, right now that's kind of my biggest issue on the PTU is that the mission manager doesn't work for the most part.
Nice.
But as you said, that really goes back to them having to rewrite it to work with server meshing, and that really applies to pretty much every service they have. So even ATC is going to have to get rewritten for server meshing, the mission manager, all the trading stuff. And I think that's one of the big reasons all the other features got delayed. And I'm hoping they fix the mission manager because they are adding a bunch of new missions. And I don't know if you read the patch notes, they actually increased the payouts for a lot of missions, and they're going to increase the payouts for a lot more. They're doing it in waves, as far as I understand, but we haven't had a release. We haven't had a release yesterday, I think, so no patch notes.
All right, I hadn't heard that, but that's very exciting.
Yeah, I looked at it. I did some data mining, and it looks like they're reworking payouts for a lot of the low-level stuff. So maybe deliveries are finally going to be worth doing. Maybe. Like, I have a full spreadsheet. I just scrolled through it because I had other things to do today. So moving on to my actual questions. So what 4.0 features are you looking forward to the most?
Honestly, I've kind of forgotten what all is exactly on the roadmap for 4.0 exactly, and then 4.x down the road afterwards. But factions and reputation is very intriguing to me.
Yeah, I think that's going to come 4x probably, because I think all the reputation stuff got delayed as well. They
Yeah, I'm
are
pretty sure.
putting in the new factions though. So you do have, rough and ready. You have, I think, you can interact with Xenothreat. I'm not sure if that's by design right now or if it's just the PTU shenanigans kind of a thing. They do have the Citizens for Prosperity. Uh, so you can actually gain reputations with these guys, and it does control access to certain locations. I know that some of the Citizens for Prosperity outposts will shoot at you unless you have enough reputation with them. Uh, so that could be interesting. So maybe they're kind of like soft launching reputation with that. But as far as I know, there is no long term stuff similar to what we saw at CitizenCon with the guilds and factions. I think that's going to come way down the line in, before 1.0. But hey, new factions to interact with, new locations to see, uh, lots of new items. There's a couple hundred new items, I think, in
I've seen
4.0.
some helmets and stuff that look pretty cool.
Yeah, they have some new helmets, like completely new helmets. They have some completely new undersuits, and we're getting some new variants of armor. I think the Lynx set is getting a couple new variants. You might not even remember it actually. The Microid battlesuit.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
one of my
finally you
favorite
can
sets.
buy it again in Pyro, and it actually is getting, I think, 3 or 4 new variants, and they all look
Awesome.
very good. Yeah, it's too
I
bad because I love that outfit, uh, and I was hoping they would bring it back to Stanton, but looks like not. But it's fine. I will go
so
to Pyro for it.
the very first video of Star Citizen I ever saw, somebody was wearing that wearing the Microid battle suit, and I saw it. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. That's some Destiny looking armor, but
Oh
with a
yeah,
little more realism put to it. I really like that. And then I actually got into the game at 317, 316. And I'm like, wait a minute, where can I buy this?
you can't.
And yeah, I've just suffered until they gave it to the dusters at the derelict
Yeah,
outposts or the derelict settlements and stuff. And
yeah.
I've tried farming it from them before, but I usually end up losing all of my farmed armor after each patch. Uh, so I just go and grab like two sets at a
Yeah.
time and use it when I want to and run out and go
Yeah.
get more.
It's a very good looking armor. I like that it's one of the only. I think there's only 2 armors that have a cape on them. It's the
Hmm.
Microid and the Lynx, and I like the Lynx too. I just don't like the arm and leg pieces for it, so I combine it with other sets. But then the
Okay,
colors
yeah.
don't quite match. Yeah, the problem with the leg piece is that it comes with pants.
See, that's what I like about it is it feels just like you're wearing armor over clothes, and it doesn't really feel
Yeah,
like an
but
armor
depending
suit.
on the undersuit, it clips through.
Yeah, around the shins.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so but it's a bug, but that's why I don't like it because it usually clips through the undersuit that I want to use because you see quite a lot of the undersuit with the Lynx core. Uh, but what can you
Great
do?
one for showing off a
Yeah,
good undersuit.
yeah.
Um,
So
I'm pretty sure I know it did get removed off of the 4.0 dot, but I'm also very curious about uh pouches in clothing and armor sets.
yeah,
They brought that up in what CitizenCon 53.
yeah. I think there was a
Uh,
last year Citizen Con where they were talking about like, oh yeah, you can just attach more pouches and stuff onto armor. I
mhm.
I don't think that ever made it on the roadmap even.
I haven't seen it, no.
I think it's gonna be because they're kind of doing the big rework of Starware. So I think it's going to come as one big release where, oh, you can now have armor over clothes, you can add pouches and all that stuff. So I think they will do that at once because it doesn't make sense any other way. But yeah, it's a very exciting concept and it gives you a lot of customization options for your armor. On the other hand, uh, I I I don't know how that's gonna work with the current inventory UI. Uh, because you can like freeform place the pouches on the armor, and Voodoo saying with the new way of doing armor with classes. He wonders if pouches are even going to make it. And I don't think the classes. And I talked to some CIG devs at CitizenCon about this because the classes made no sense. I think it's not going to be like class of armor. I think it's going to be more like this armor is good for these types of activities, but it's not like a class. The classes were kind of like a description mechanism.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they did kind of say that in the panel that they don't want to make anything exclusive to armor sets,
Yeah.
but they do want to make armor sets that enable you to do a job better.
Yeah. As with a lot of things, CIG said it wrong and people understood it wrong, and now we're thinking about it wrong. And it's going to change 4 times before they actually release it.
Yep.
Yeah, I still haven't seen the base building Q&A, but I have it somewhere in my backlog because I'm told they answered some very burning questions, which is good.
Yeah, some questions about mining, some questions about salvage and material gathering. Biggest sad thing for me was they clarified no asteroid or cave bases in the near future. It's all going to be
Stand by.
above
Did you guys hear
ground.
that?
Above ground, solid. Yeah, I heard that. Is your cat
No, someone threw a
causing a wreck?
snowball at my window.
Oh,
I'm getting my gun.
nice.
This is... What kind of
Never
bullshit
heard.
is this? I mean,
Might
the
just
window
be
looks
kids
fine.
screwing
It
around.
just scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, no. Might just be kids screwing around. Might not be.
Sorry, that really... And I thought this was a good neighborhood. And like, I'm not even like on the first floor. I'm on the second floor.
Is there anything interesting in your window that might?
I mean, no, it's just all lit up because I'm streaming. But like,
Maybe that was what it was.
yeah, no, the fireworks season is starting, and I hate every waking moment of it. It's like, why do we sell explosives to people in the supermarket? That has got to be a terrible idea. But yeah, no, sorry, we got sidetracked. But yeah, that's good because the material gathering part for base building and crafting was. I mean, they talked about material qualities and and all that, which is going to affect the buildings and the items you craft. I mean, technically, there is a holiday that requires fireworks in December. Then again, do you count New Year's as being in December or in January? It's,
I think of it as New Year's. I mean, I think of it as December,
yeah, because you got
but
the New Year's Eve, which is technically in December, and then you have like the New Year, which is in January. So you,
well, since most of the fireworks are set off on the in December and not in January,
yeah,
I think I'd label that there.
yeah. I think it's a December holiday.
Usually, nobody here starts fireworks till after Christmas. It's good and over.
Yeah, over here it's kind of picks up around this time because they start selling them around this time in bigger supermarkets, and then as smaller stores pick up fireworks to sell, it starts picking up. There's kind of one peak on Christmas, and then there's the second peak, leading up to New Year's, and then it's tapering off until the end of January when people are, exploding their remaining stock.
Yeah, I live in a more rural area, so there's a lot of people that enjoy hunting, and it's hunting season right now. So a lot of people are, some people try to be cognizant of that and not set off explosives.
Yeah,
that
I
might startle
imagine
animals.
that's detrimental to finding animals in the area.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe one day I will move to a rural area, have a little cottage with optical internet leading to it, and I will never leave. No, like I always say, me living in the country would require a level of grocery trip planning that I do not possess, because I am just simply too used to having a grocery store 5 minutes from my house.
Hmm.
And what if I want chips and I don't have chips at home?
I enjoy that I work a home service job, so I have to drive out to people's houses to do my job. So at the end of the day, I get to leave the city and come home. And as I leave the city, I can stop anywhere I need to because the city has most stores. So I can just grab anything I need on my way home, and I don't have to make a special trip.
See, that's good. Yeah, I working from home has made me lazy. Then again, I mean, I could stop at the store if I worked at the office on my way home, but everybody goes to the store on their way home from the office, and you don't want to be at the store with all those people.
Oh no, definitely not.
No, yeah, stores suck at 4 p.m. when everybody leaves work. Anyway, we got sidetracked. Once, as long as your office isn't in Pyro, uh, it might as well be. You know what? I think the turnover rate would probably be the same if it was in Pyro. It's, that is my opinion, and in no way, shape, or form it represents the performance of the company I work for. Anyway,
Throw that out.
moving on. Yeah, no, my manager listens to the podcast, so. Uh, so moving on. So, are you unhappy about all the features that got cut from 4.0, or are you specifically unhappy about some of them, or are you happy that stuff got cut out of 4.0?
Happy for performance because, obviously this has never happened before. We've never gotten a whole new system to go play in, so the release does need to be good. It doesn't need to be god awful and broken and not functioning because they're launching 17 systems all at once. Services, I mean. So I'm
It is
glad
going to be
for
god awful and not perform very well.
I'm glad that awfulness is being mitigated by the fact that there are less things coming with it all at once. I'm just excited to have new locations to go check out and go explore. I kind of play, you play new releases like you do events. You don't even try to do missions during Invictus or during IAE when, server errors and crashes are going to cause you to lose missions. I don't even play missions. I just go and explore, go have fun, go check out new locations. So I'm excited to go do that. I'm curious about contested zones. I don't expect I'll do a lot of playing with them. Sometimes get the FPS crew together and go storm one down, but I'm not really. That's really not my main focus. I'll be glad to just go get out and
Side
check
note,
out the new worlds.
During the IAE free fly, I actually did a lot of mining because for some weird reason,
Brave
mining
man.
actually worked. It's like I actually mining had a lot of issues in 23, and you couldn't really you had a lot of desync, a lot of lag. During the IE, no problem. It just worked. I did 2 million credits worth of mining during the IAE.
Wow.
And it just worked. It was beautiful. I had no issues at all.
That is impressive.
But yeah, no, I am also looking forward to contested zones. I've tried a couple on the PTU. I'm still not sure about the concept. I still think that this should have been something that is removed from landing zones. Because I was on today and you had a lot of people trying the PTU for the first time, and they were like, "Hey, I'm on checkmate and an NPC just shot me." And the chat is oh, you took a wrong turn and went into a contested zone. Because they are marked. There is little, theme park signs pointing contested zone this way. Which is kind of weird, but okay.
Yeah.
But you can still
It
warns you very obviously that you are entering a contested zone. I'm talking neon green spray paint on the wall saying contested this way. Yes, literally. That's what it looks like.
That's on the nose.
But you still can very easily wander there. I think on Obituary or on Checkmate, the contested zone is right next to the shopping area, and the shopping area is like every single pyro station. It's poorly lit, totally unsigned and you have no idea where to look for shops in there because the shops are actually in a separate room that is aside from like the main marketplace.
Not
But as
confusing at all.
Yeah, but as you're looking, it is actually very easy to take the wrong turn and turn left instead of right and end up in a contested zone and get shot. Especially if you're like looking for a shop to buy something and you're like, oh, I can't find it, but the sign says, shopping area this way. Oh no, I got shot. Like that's the
Yeah,
whole experience of stumbling into a contested zone.
I still haven't made up my mind if I even like the idea of contested zones at all. Because, I mean, the way I think about it, that's kind of what, obviously the whole loot system aside, that's kind of what DC's seemed to, be introduced as and then kind of evolved into. Um, it's just like a free-for-all zone
Yeah,
where you have different players there for different reasons, and like every time I run into a player at a hostile DC like Dupree on Hearthstone or something, it's always extremely tense because most of them, 3/4 will shoot you on sight.
yeah.
Occasionally, you'll be some players who might, ignore you or talk to you in global chat or something, but most players at a DC will just kill you on sight.
I mean that.
Um,
I think they didn't implement a lot of stuff for distribution centers because right now you don't have a whole lot of reasons to go there. Like the loot is not worth the extra effort. You can get the same done by doing a bunker mission, and you can get
uh-huh.
more bunker missions done in the same amount of time it takes you to clear a distribution center.
Yep.
And the loot is just not worth it right now. And contested zones have the same problem. And I understand that CIG want to add, raid mechanics because this is raid mechanics. Distribution centers and contested zones are raid mechanics, purely.
Yeah.
And I understand why they want to do it, but as I have said in multiple videos, the loot system does not support this. The loot system sucks, and they need to do something about it. CIG, I see the numbers on the loot, and it's never gonna work this way, never. I see the numbers. The armory sees the numbers, and we don't think it's gonna work. But because they have two types of contested zones. They have contested zones on the landing zone stations, and they have contested zones that are asteroid bases. And the asteroid base ones are actually pretty good because you have to go there. It is very separated from any area where you're not going to accidentally go in there. It is you are going to have to deliberately go to that area, deliberately look for that asteroid base, and deliberately go in there and fight.
Mm-hmm.
I understand what they want to do with the landing zones, contested zones, where they want to make it accessible. But, you know, not so accessible that you can stumble in there. Like that's the part that I worried about is that people are just gonna like stumble in there and get shot. Because
Yeah.
really all you need to do right now is grab a rifle and stand right behind the door and just shoot anybody who gets lost and gets there and just take all their stuff.
I had that thought of that, if I were bored, what would I do in Pyro? And I'm like, oh, I'd walk into the contested zone and, find a hiding spot near the door and just shoot everybody in the back that comes through.
Yeah, and the worst part about it is that my original expectation was that there's gonna be like an airlock in between or something. But no, some of them is just a straight corridor. So
So is it possible that something like a grenade could get accidentally tossed right into
Yep.
a shopping mall?
Yep. My I think this week I'm just like passing by because it's like a T intersection, and if you go straight you get to the market, and if you turn you go to the contested zone. There was someone with a sniper rifle just killing people because they're outside of Armistice and they're shooting into the Armistice. Yeah, so exactly the stuff that I pointed out in my video on contested zones is happening. And people
Yep.
say I'm crazy, but
You see, I think I lost you.
no, I'm still here, and you're still here. We're still here.
Oh, okay. It sounded like you cut out there for a minute.
Yeah, Discord is being weird recently.
I will say I'm very curious about the instanced dungeon type zones that they mentioned wanting to put beneath Area 18,
Yeah,
like the undercity levels, like those kinds of things. I'm very interested in because it does, does offer a tailored solo or small group
yeah,
FPS mission that could be really fun to run, and you also wouldn't have to worry about that one chud in the corner in
yeah,
full heavy armor with an FS9 just killing
yeah.
everybody just because he can.
Yeah, I really like that concept, and not just because it's instant and it's progressible because they describe like, oh, you do the level enough times so you get to go to the next level. It kind of really remind me of dungeoneering in RuneScape, which is good because that's a very, for me, that is a very fun experience. Uh, and even solo and with a small group and everything. Uh, but more importantly, there is a reason for you to go there. There is a mission that you go there for. That it might be different every time you go. It might be, oh, clear out the sewer copians or something, and then it might be, oh, someone got lost. Go find a person in there, and then you progress through levels like, oh, you're on level 5, and oh, we have reports that there is a drug smuggling operation in there, so go disrupt that. And you get different experiences, but you have a mission in a contested zone. I have not seen the original missions where it's like go to this part of the station and clear out the enemies, which they had in the first Pyro playtest. Uh, yeah. Uh,
Yeah, I remember seeing them talk about those missions. Just go and
yeah.
eliminate large groups. Voodoo in the chat with the riot shields. Absolutely,
Absolutely.
that's
I was just going to read that. Yeah. Riot shields would be a big thing because, you don't really see this in many events, but you mostly see it in Siege of Orison, where, you have one guy with a grenade launcher just making the whole mission inaccessible for everybody.
hmm
Because the AI is not actually powerful enough to take that guy out, and you are still an armistice when you get out of that tram. So,
Yeah, and it's that type of gameplay. That's usually what I default to anyway. That's my preferred role to play in a team. Is the the tank. And that's Star Citizen really needs some kind of counter to some kind of counter to that type of player.
yeah. And I mean, even a riot shield is not going to help you if they have a grenade launcher because splash damage is going to get you because splash damage passes through everything right now. But maybe once Titan suits come in, where you have a shield as well as some armor, that's that might help, you know. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and I
right.
mean I don't have to like in the chat they're talking about the uh being able to shoot your toes and stuff, and that's all fine. You could
Yeah,
even make sniper rifles penetrate through, or
yeah,
make sustained fire penetrate in small amounts. Like, definitely make it, not too powerful, but like just the fact that you could use a shield to approach some player holed up in a corner with an FS9 mag dumping,
yeah,
that just some type of way to approach, because this game just has there's no movement that's fast enough for you to be able to dodge shots.
yeah,
There is no response to somebody just mag dumping around an empty space around a
yeah,
corner. You just got to wait for them to run out of ammo.
yeah. I mean, contested zones have multiple entry points. So, if one entry point is blocked by such a person, you can technically go around, find another way. Because I tried on Obituary and I found 3 different ways in there.
Okay.
And I am told there are more. Because you kind of have like that big hallway, then you have another big hallway, and then you can kind of go through like a vent or something and get in there. So that's good. You have options, so you can get around this kind of a threat, but still, if there is one guy doing that at the one entrance, why couldn't there be 2 other guys doing the same thing on the other two? Because I imagine there's going to be groups of 3 to 4 to 5 people who are like, oh yeah, let's just block a contested zone today for an
Yep.
hour.
Yep. And not even loot. Just sit there and kill
Just
people
yeah,
that come in. They
That's literally the
unfortunately,
scenario we had in the PTU this week. This guy with a sniper rifle just shooting everybody who passed through that hallway. And like, even if you were not going to the contested zone, just like boom, 50 cal to the head, and you're done.
I've even seen players doing that in Stanton. I've gone to a random bunker before. It's only happened once, but just went to a random bunker for a mission, and there were players down there, uh, just killing everybody that came in, and they weren't just killing them. They would incap them, and then overdose them, and then they were tractor beaming them all into a big pile in the corner. So you had the backspace to get out. They wouldn't even kill you. They just drugged you and threw you in a corner.
That's kind of hilarious, but
And they were claiming to be medics because they were administering medicine. And I mean, afterwards it was kind of funny to be like, oh, it's the med runners. They're gonna save me, and they just pump you full of drugs.
nah.
But at the time it was very frustrating because
Yeah, I mean, like in hindsight, hilarious. But if it's happening to you, it is very frustrating, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like,
well,
yeah, I mean, sure, it happens. You go to a bunker and there is another group, and you fight and you lose. It happens, but if they are on a mission, I'm like, cool, yeah, just bad time to be doing that bunker. But if they are just there for the heck of it, of like, oh yeah, we're just gonna like sit on this location and make someone's day miserable, that's, I don't know, that's some weird behavior in my opinion.
Something else that's kind of concerned me about 4.0 is I've seen a lot, which I think we'll see some type of mitigation, hopefully sometime soon. But I've seen a lot of just players in big ships, Corsairs, Polarises, players with big guns, just showing up to any ground location and immediately destroying every parked ship there, and then leaving.
Well, I mean, that's a problem in Stanton as well. So
Yeah, but at least we have, like mining outposts. They have armistices
yeah,
around
every
them,
once in a
so
while you will
there's a
have an
little
armistice and
protection.
you can't shoot into an armistice. In Pyro, they try to mitigate it with turrets. Like every single outpost in Pyro has turrets, like gun and missile ones. But the efficiency is questionable, especially if you bring a Polaris. Like there is, I don't think there is a turret in this game that can hurt a Polaris besides the big size 9 turrets around stations, and those could not hit a Polaris even if it was standing next to it. So yeah, but CIG is gonna tell you that's just the danger of being in Pyro. Like you are in a lawless space, and no one's gonna stop anybody from doing that. Um, and that's just the risk of being in Pyro. The mitigation there is, yep, there are turrets, but you're supposed to be able to take out the turrets. So it's kind of a back and forth on what CIG want and what we think should be the kind of the desired gameplay in Pyro. Like, yeah, I would love to. I would love to explore Pyro, but I am very much aware that I'm just gonna get shot after live immediately. That's true, Voodoo. It's 1 million per torpedo on the Polaris if you capture a Polaris and take out the torpedoes and sell them. So, yeah, agreed. Might be a big piracy target in Pyro, but it can defend itself. So,
Yeah, I mean, if somebody tries to land, say they shoot open that hangar and try to land, all the pilot has to do is roll and just
yeah,
kill anybody trying to land. It's over.
yeah. So,
And I mean, yeah, Pyro definitely should be lawless. I just feel like it's gonna be the solo player experience is gonna be awful because you have to park your ship, you have to leave it unattended,
yeah.
and you could be in the middle of doing one of those little repair missions, and somebody shows up and annihilates your cutter and leaves you stranded there, and you have no recourse there, unless they happen to have a vehicle pad where you can spawn a new ship, claim and spawn a new ship and try to escape. But I
Some
haven't
of
noticed
them,
any
some
of
of
those.
them have this. Some of the
Okay.
bigger ones have this, where you can actually spawn a snub.
Mm-hmm.
So they have like a vehicle platform, so you might be able to get the 85X in there if you have it.
the razor, the talon,
Yeah, that
small
anything
on the
that
platinum
small.
bay.
But nothing, and as you know, Voodoo is pointing out, without reputation loss, nothing stops them from just carpet bombing an outpost.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not gonna lose any reputation. They're not gonna start shooting at you. Nothing's gonna happen. No one's gonna go after you, and that's why I was very surprised that they put those very non-combat missions, like, oh yeah, go salvage this in this, like, salvage yard. Go repair this on this farm in Pyro. It's like, why would I go to an outpost, leave my ship unattended, and then go do this on foot when I know there is a almost certainty that the next player who comes around is just gonna blow up my ship and then fly around until they find me and shoot me from their ship while I am trying to, like, repair this device. Like, not worth it for the 5,000 credits that they pay for it. So I would more expect that kind of a mission on the settlements in Stanton, because we have settlements that are sort of outside of the corporations. I would expect that kind of a gameplay in a distribution center. Like, that would be amazing. Like, oh yeah, we have a, because I don't know if you've noticed, like, the distribution centers, they have, like, the outbuildings, and it's usually just like a little warehouse or like a little something. So it'd be like, oh yeah, our, like, collector thingy is down, grab a fuse and go replace the fuse on it. And you go and you take a ground vehicle, something like that. That would be very fun as a distribution center gameplay, and would give people more reasons to go to distribution centers, and would create the emergent gameplay that CIG want with distribution centers, where, oh, you're repairing it, but someone came in to raid that distribution center, so you can now help defend it. Lots they can do, but I don't know. CIG sometimes make questionable gameplay decisions, in my opinion, and they rarely fix them afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Definitely.
I think we got off on a tangent there. But yeah, no, I fully agree with you. It should be lawless. I am not opposed to the idea of Pyro being lawless. I even like the idea of Pyro being lawless, because it gives you many different dynamics, and it gives you sort of the opportunity to build different sort of quest chains and different interactions, which I think we need, and generally just different environments. But if it's unchecked, which it is, because reputation doesn't exist, there is nothing that stops everybody from being a complete psychopath while in Pyro. Because there is no punishment to it. You can you can kill 100 players in Pyro and then go back to Stanton, to your cozy hab in New Babbage. Nothing stops you from doing that. No one's gonna check you on entry to Stanton and be like, oh, wait a minute. You are a wanted murderer. We're not gonna let you in. Oh, you're bringing in illegal goods. Of course no one's gonna check you. We're not gonna, It's definitely going to be interesting to see how the wider community finds the murder hoboing in Pyro. I think people want to see Bloom, for example. Oh yeah, I I agree with Voodoo there. Because Bloom is beautiful. It is probably the best looking planet in Pyro. And the Stanton Gateway to Bloom route is going to be a bloodbath. And generally just, people killing tourists on Bloom.
Yeah, I'm gonna be doglegging everywhere I go in Pyro to avoid those direct jump routes, so I don't get interdicted.
Yeah.
I've already decided if I go to Pyro solo, I'm almost always going to be in a terrapin,
Yep.
just so I might have a chance to escape before I get murdered.
Yeah. Oh, Mantis owners are going to have fun. That's true. But no, I fully agree. But yeah, I think the big hurdle is going to be there is no reputation, and I don't think all the murder hobos are actually going to stay in Pyro.
No, there'll be plenty that stay behind.
They're going to stay in Stanton, because in Pyro, everybody's going to be looking for a fight. Everybody's going to be ready for a fight. And generally, murder hobos don't want to fight people who want to fight. That's just the general rule of thumb. So they'll be in Stanton murdering people going about their business. And again, until reputation comes in, and eventually an NPC Polaris shows up to take you out, I don't think you're gonna get very far. And you know, even with the NPC security response, I see a lot of issues. It's like, oh, you know how you have when you kill people around the station in the UE, eventually an Idris shows up?
I did not know that.
Yeah, the response steps up and eventually an Idris can show up. Do you think it has helped at any point?
I don't believe I can't say. Probably not.
Nope.
I've noticed NPC hammerheads around stations occasionally. That must be what that's from.
Yeah. So I think yeah, sometimes it's kind of steps up. They have like Avengers show up, kind of like the what your regular security force would have, and if that person keeps killing them, hammerheads start showing up, vanguards start showing up, and if you do it long enough, and there was a bunch of videos of people doing that, eventually an Idris is supposed to show up. I'm not sure if that's still active, but it did work for a little while where an Idris would show up.
That's a really cool concept.
Yeah, except it doesn't
I think
really
that's
work.
quite good. Yeah, but talking about the Polaris, I did want to mention something that's I'm afraid we're going to see a lot of. The Mantis does fit inside the Polaris and can run its QED while landed. So I think it's going to be that's going to be a strat that's going to be used. You're just going to get interdicted, and it's just going to be a Polaris that's all buttoned up, and you cannot get away unless you can outspeed a Polaris.
Which you can. It's not that fast.
Yeah, you just got to survive that. Survive that first pass and hope you can boost away far enough and hope there's no fighters to chase you down with it. But, something like a Polaris stacked up with a couple of faster fighters is going to be a massive problem.
Yeah, I suppose if it's a Polaris with a Mantis, you can just do a 180 and try to quantum away. But I guess we will see. That's a very interesting approach. I think we're definitely going to see a lot of that. With how many Polarises and Mantises are out there right now. But yeah, no, reputation is the big hurdle here. Also, I think, and I think I did a video on this at some point, being a murder hobo should be discouraged with gameplay means. Like, it should, like, if you're just going everywhere murdering people, eventually everybody's gonna hate you. Like, even if you're not doing it for a specific faction, you are going to collaterally kill people who are aligned with one of those factions. Like, if you bomb an outpost, that's going to tank your reputation with the faction that runs it. And if you do this enough times, you're going to tank your reputation with everybody to the point where you're not going to be able to refuel, you're not going to be able to buy anything. Like, that's kind of the long-term reputation I would like to expect. I would like to see where, like, oh yeah, I bombed the outpost of every single faction in Pyro. Oh, now all the faction stations are shooting at me. Like, now no one's going to sell me anything. Because...
consequences for actions.
Yeah. And I don't think they want to do that right now, because that would severely lock people out of gameplay, which I don't think CIG want to do. But eventually when crafting comes in, oh yeah, sure. No one's going to sell you anything. You have to craft everything you want. Insurance is not going to work for you because you can't go to a landing zone to get a new ship. And you're probably going to have, like, null-sec landing zones where it's a hangar in the middle of nowhere that magically ships appear at. And you can claim your ship there, but you are not in an armistice zone. You can get shot at any moment. And that's where I think they're going to push murder hobos. That's what I would do.
Yeah. I am curious with what about the future of defensive turrets around landing zones? Because, right now, say if you have a crime stat, you can still go to New Babbage or to Lorville and just land your ship outside the ground and walk in and
just walk in.
Sprint past security, don't get shot, and still claim your ships and do everything you need to do. I'm curious if they'll ever attempt to mitigate that.
Yeah, I think what Star Citizen landing zones need are Warhammer 40k Imperial orbital defense cannons. Like here is a cannon that flings a shell weighing 200 tons at the target. Oh yes, and it's nuclear. Good luck dodging that. Just like in a ground-mounted Nova cannon. Just yep, let's obliterate quarter of the skyline. So yeah, I definitely agree. I would like to see defensive turrets on, yeah, basically Castra. Yes, I would like to see defensive turrets, but I know it's a bit of an unpopular opinion in the community. I want station and planet-side defenses to be hit scan, rather than oh yes, it is, you know. It is a turret that uses ballistic calculation that the AI uses that is like 6 server ticks behind the actual target, so it's never actually going to hit. No, you are in range, you're dead. It has fired on you. That's it. That's what I would like to see. And that would make the station and landing zone experience a million times better. I would especially think this would be appropriate in Pyro, because nothing stops you from camping a station in Pyro. Literally nothing. There is no armistice. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you are fucking with the clan territory. Boom. Shot down. There was a super modified, built by an engineer high on LSD, size 9, ballistic cannon on top of the checkmate station. Just like, bam. Done. Blown out of the space. That's it. No, I agree. You know, Eve does this really well. For everything that Eve does terribly is that the security response on Eve is actually very good. Like, yeah.
How does Eve do it?
If you're in like high security space and you get attacked, immediately security forces show up. They're indestructible, and whoever's attacking you has about 5 seconds to live. Like immediately, they are there. And the same thing actually happens in Elite. If you're in a high-sec system and you have good reputation with the controlling faction, yeah, you get interdicted, security show up immediately, defend you. And it kind of, you know, the response, it takes a little bit longer and steps down as you go into less secure areas. So, yeah. So I think Star Citizen needs something similar, but until the combat AI is there on that level where it can outfight a top tier dogfight player, because until that happens, NPC security response is going to be completely useless. Because like what is a security response hammerhead if the player in a Gladius can just like do circles around it and chip away?
Yeah.
And the turrets are not doing anything to stop it. So until then, yeah, we should get hit scan turrets around stations. You commit enough armistice violations, boom, you're dead. I know the community doesn't want it. Even I don't want it as a long-term solution, but as a stopgap, I think it's the only way. Especially now. I might be wrong, but
my only thought is obviously that the big thing that jumps to mind for me is a lot of times, you know, turrets around stations and stuff will target players who have just been in combat with other players at all. Just any, you know, oh, you're red, you get shot by the station. Yep. So if I'm coming into station and they're attacking me outside armistice, if I defend myself at all, you know, I don't want to get annihilated by the station.
Yep.
Just because I tried to fight somebody, and then, you know, then it's going to become my only response to combat is to run away so that I don't become marked as a hostile player.
Yep.
So if they could, which that would depend on them reworking a hostile player system or an in-combat system.
Yeah, the hostility timer thing and thresholds is just broken. It has never worked, I think.
It's the same problem. I mean, it's not the same problem, but I mean, it's a problem even when you die. You know, you can be killed by a player, wake up in a hospital bed, and then you can't change to a different server because you're still combat logged because you were in combat 2 minutes ago. Like, I'm dead.
Yeah. There was, you know, a lot of edge cases and a lot of gaps in the hostility system. And again, you know, you find the problem, which is stations are not really safe because the defenses don't work. So the obvious solution is, yeah, okay, but let's make the third hit scan. But now it's actually going to punish people who might be running away from a fight into, the safe area. Like, the scenario I have in my head, based on what you said, is like, I am in an MSR coming into a station and I'm still, 30 kilometers out. I'm barely outside of Armistice and someone tries to attack me. So my turrets are firing back and, I am red, they are red, but I am, the defending player. I was the one who was attacked. But from the point of view of the station, both of us are red. So I'm gonna get killed if I go into that hit scan weapon range. And, the person attacking me, they might just be like hanging out outside the Armistice, just shooting a few shots at everybody who passes through, turning them red, and, exploit right there. So you have to now rework the hostility timer and, generally the combat state. And it just gets very complicated very quickly. And we will get there eventually, but it's going to take us a very long time, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, anyway, any closing thoughts on your expectations for Pyro and 4.0 in general?
I'm definitely excited. I'd love to see, I'm very curious to see new locations, to scope out maybe some potential future base locations, just to have more, to have a little more world to go check out, to go explore, and to not have to always worry about Comm Relay so much, if I kill this player who took a couple shots at me, is he gonna press charges and I'm gonna get a CS3 for defending myself? So I'm curious about that experience. I'm hopeful for new stuff to explore, but that first week it hits live is probably gonna be a little rough.
Well, the way I see it, Darktide just dropped a new patch. Space Marine 2 has a new patch coming up. I have plenty of stuff to do while it drops.
Oh yeah. I still haven't beaten the Elden Ring DLC yet. I'm on the final boss. I can go do that.
There you go. Yeah, so plenty of stuff to do. Yeah, I've been playing Darktide recently now that the new DLC came out, and it's really good. I missed that game. But no, plenty of stuff to do, plenty of miniatures to paint, plenty of videos to make. So I'm good if it doesn't work for 2 weeks.
I thought Darktide hadn't released yet.
No, it's been out for like 2 years now, I think.
Oh, okay. I thought it was still in beta or something.
No. It's been out for a while. They did, like, the initial release was very weak. Like, they really cut down on a lot of features, and there was a lot of backlash, and it didn't quite perform as well. But over the last year and a half, they really put in a lot of improvements. Like, the weapon upgrade system is really good now, and they reworked mission balance and certain things. So now it's actually a very good gameplay experience, even though I haven't played it for over 6 months, and I picked it up randomly and managed to drop in, and I have a character that's top tier. Managed to drop in, and it was really, really, really good. No problems. So that's what I'm gonna play after this, probably, or Delta Force, since that is now out fully. And I've been looking forward to it. Yeah. So Integer, thank you for joining me again. Appreciate you very much. That was a good talk on 4.0, and some. I'm glad you confirmed some concerns that I had on 4.0 and on Pyro in general, and I am very much looking forward to see how that shakes out, because we're still in PTU, we're still in Wave 1. I think there is still time for CIG to do something about some of the things. Mm-hmm. But we will see how that goes. So thank you.
You know what I think they should do?
What do you think they should do?
Drop it to live and then go on Christmas break. Be like, all right, y'all, have fun.
I I'm kind of thinking they will do it, but I think they're gonna delay it until like end of the year.
Yeah, I expect we may have like full wave PTU
Yeah,
before they go on break, and then sometime in January
yeah,
they could
something like
actually
that.
shape it up and throw it in live. I just think it would be hilarious for them to be
Oh, it
like,
would be
okay,
very
we're
funny.
closing down issue council, no new issue council post till
Nope,
after Christmas
nope.
break. The patch is in live. We'll see you in January.
Yeah, the
Goodbye.
IT department has left the door. It's live. Good luck and may the odds be ever in your favor. Out. And just like CIG website shut down until January.
Yeah, yeah.
That'd be very funny though. So yeah, anyway,
Alright, well.
thank you. Have a great rest of the day, and I will see you on the next one.
Absolutely. I'll catch you later.
All right, thank you. All right, guys, that's gonna be a wrap for today. Great talk with Integer as always. Hoping to Voodoo. I'm hoping to maybe see you on one of the future shows. Speaking of future shows, we are. Let me look at my calendar. There is going to be one more Comm Relay next week, so Sunday the 15th, because the weekend after that I am already on holiday. We're going to have a video tomorrow. We're going to have a video on the 16th. And there is going to be a very long video coming out sometime in between the 16th and the 30th. I don't know if I'm going to have a video on the 30th, but I'm going to have like a very long, I think it's like 35 minutes, a video between the holidays. And then we're going to come back in January with the usual schedule cycle. I think we're going to have a Comm Relay on the 5th, video on the 6th, and going, with the usual. As always, this has been the Comm Relay. We're live every Sunday, with some exceptions, at 7 p.m. Central European Time. If you want it in your time zone, look at Discord or on Twitch. If you haven't caught the show live, it gets uploaded on Spotify, on YouTube, and on Apple Music whenever Twitch lets me download the VOD. If you'd like to join me as a caller like Integer did today, you're always welcome. All you have to do is hop in the waiting room Discord channel while I'm live. And that is all. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for your comments and your chats. And fly safe, and I will see you in the verse. Good night.